In a dark place, a man continues to fight the undead, who keep coming no matter what he does. He knows that this is the underworld, and that this body can endure, but endless fighting just does not make sense for him. He continues to slash through the undead hordes and screams out that he is the king of humans, the hero of his people, and a goddamn saint compared to most people. Suddenly, a large red being appears, and the man calls out for the ruler of the underworld, and asks what he wants from someone like him. The large being lets the king down, as the man asks how he dares to do something like this to a mighty king like him. The ruler of the underworld finishes taking a hit from his pipe and calls the man an asshole, before asking if he really has gone crazy. He knows all about him, and how almighty he felt all his life. He is the kid who can steal anything, the monk who kills, and the king who leads the people into battle. However, when he stands before him, he is nothing but a worthless sinner. He is but a man who went to war, a sinner who burned down houses for fun, and cut off the head of a kid just because he did not wish to fight. Yes, he is indeed the king, but to get there, he killed a lot of people, too many to count. So he should just lay still, and realize that this is his eternal hell, and that he is the ruler. He will be allowed to escape only when all of the lives he took are satisfied with his suffering. Until then, he will keep getting ripped apart again and again. The man screams out, his mind barely understanding the fate that awaits him. Later, a staff member of the Underworld King, Nomong, is truly amazed by the king's amazing display of power and acting, and notes that he shouldn't keep talking about the same thing for 300 years. It's going to get worn out eventually. However, Nomong is kind of sad, because he suddenly announced that he is retiring, and while he has a successor, Teolbo, he is still lacking in a few ways. The king thinks that he's doing just fine for someone like him, but Nomong reveals that many people here are having a pretty hard time because of him. The king feels that it's only natural, as sinners should be having an awful time here, to rid them of their sins. Eventually they arrive at the Underworld Palace, and Nomong notes that all he must do now is start the trial of the reincarnation. The king is a little nervous, but thanks Nomong for all that he has done for him over the years. He will not forget him even after he reincarnates. Nomong notes that he better keep that promise, and as the king opens the doors, the chatty Nomong becomes shocked as he looks towards the door, as they see a lush green forest in front of them. Nomong notes that the river around him should be flowing with blood, but now there is only crystalline water. There are birds singing instead of the screaming of sinners, and the entire area seems like a vacation spot now. Nomong becomes naturally mad at this sight, as Teolbo was in charge of this place, but that dumbass isn't anywhere to be seen. The pot that should be filled with hot tar and boiling people can be used for soup now. Everything is filled with rainwater, and where is that bastard? Nomong tells the king Yomra that he should come back, as this place is certainly not for him. Yomra does not want to, as he wants to reincarnate with every fiber of his being. Nomong is mad at him for thinking about his reincarnation now, but Yomra feels that he deserves it. He has worked tirelessly all of these years, but if that bastard is not here, he cannot go on to his second life. Suddenly, his vision starts to blur as Nomong tries to tell him something, and his entire being becomes a mess. But that's when Nomong snaps him out of it and tells him to dodge. Unfortunately, the holy strike that has come down on him manages to hit him, and God himself has come to request something from Yomra. He wants him to look for Teolbo, but he doesn't want to, as it's his fault for neglecting them so much. Why should he go when his service is done? God says something we cannot hear, which Yomra doesn't like, as he said it in a commanding tone. But now, he cannot reincarnate because he is incompetent in every way. However, now he is no longer one of his people, as he retired, but perhaps he has become too senile to even remember. So if he could kindly leave, that would be great. With enough energy, Yomra manages to push God away, who slowly closes the gate that he created and goes back to his place. But before fully closing it, Yomra teleports to that gate and swings it open. He will not go, but he does want to reincarnate, so he will find Teolbo, but he promises that one day he will pay for this. With that, he goes through the gate and is transported in the sky around a city. When he crashes down on the ground, however, he notices that there's fire everywhere, and when some people start running away in his direction, he notices something else coming out of the fire, the deceased. These guys should be in the underworld, not here in the human world. One of them manages to catch a little girl and prepares to eat her, but Yomra instantly rushes to him and sends him flying. He also feels the smell of blood everywhere. All of the deceased look at him as he asks if they have gone crazy. Was the underworld not enough for their little brains? Well, now they have just committed a sin in front of him, which is unforgivable. The deceased is a being that appears after a human dies. They are sent to hell by the judges and pay the price for the sins they have committed during their lives in the 8 hells. The souls that repent after receiving punishment reincarnate into a new life. That is the rule of the dead. But Yomra can't believe that they dared to actually come to the surface. Naturally, the deceased probably can't even hear him and charge in, which Yomra expected, but he will do as the ancients did and beat them to another death. He continues to do that until a little deceased comes in front of him, which makes Yomra go into overdrive, and he continuously smashes the deceased face into the ground again and again until a dust cloud has formed and even the deceased stop in shock. Yomra asks if they are not going to attack anymore. Perhaps they only understand violence. Suddenly, a sharp thing appears out of the horde of deceased and goes for Yomra, who dodges the attack swiftly. Nomang asks if he's alright, but Yomra is more focused on his next opponent, as the deceased opens up a path for him, and he comes out of the fire with a human head and a wicked smile. Yomra feels something different about this guy, as his aura is different, and there's a thick smell of blood around him. As soon as he sees his next target, the new deceased drops his old toy and goes to fetch a new one. Nomang wonders if they should kill this mannerless bastard, but Yomra is already pretty set on it, which surprises Nomang. The undead throws his weapon once again, and Yomra wonders why he killed so many humans. Perhaps he is absorbing their vitality in hopes of reincarnation. As he catches his weapon and throws it away, however, he notes that something like this isn't possible. Reincarnation without a trial is considered infernal taboo, but knowing that, his only successor still let all of them roam free, so he will do him a favor this time and burn all the sinners that he sees. With that, he unleashes a mighty blow on the deceased, and he does it again and again until the deceased is sent flying into a nearby building. Yomra goes to him as he cracks his neck and puts his foot on his head, asking why he killed so many people to reincarnate. He better come up with a good answer. He keeps asking that while kicking his head, but the deceased finds the opportunity to get out of the rubble and slash away at Yomra, who thinks that there must be a reason for all of this killing, as it's too weak for someone who should have absorbed so much vitality. Perhaps he was the one who assumed too much. The deceased picks up a rock and dashes towards Yomra, who thinks of this as a ridiculous plan, but that's when a few deceased come from below and start to hold him down, which makes the other deceased smile as he heats Yomra over the head. He begins doing this again and again, laughing like a maniac all the while. Suddenly, Yomra cuts his hand off in one blow and asks, why isn't laughing anymore? Has this stopped being funny for him? With that last provocation, Yomra unleashes the true wrath of hell on this sinner, whose flesh starts to burn as the attack continues and engulfs the entire area. Yomra chooses to jump on a building and looks behind him while the moon glows as red as he does, asking the deceased if they are going to obey now. All of them have turned red, and they start to bow down to their true ruler. But Yomra isn't done yet, as he will have to punish them accordingly. He will tell them their sins first. The sin of escaping, the sin of chaos, and the sin of harming humans are all extremely bad sins, so he will have to sentence them accordingly. 700 years for chaos, 2,000 years for escaping, and those who harmed humans are sentenced to 10,000 more years. With the sentencing out of the way, he opens a portal to where they will serve their sentence. The lush green land, which they are quite confused by, as it doesn't seem that bad. But Yomra tells them to go in already. He doesn't care how nice it looks or anything similar. As he kicks them inside, he announces that they will work on the wedding of this place, meaning that they will remove anything that is green around the area, with their own hands, of course. As the portal closes, the deceased tries to say something, but Yomra just closes it in his face. Nomang wonders what the deceased was trying to say, and Yomra notes that he must have been saying that he will work hard from now on. Nomang also announces that a few other deceased were running away earlier. Is he going to get after them too? Yomra wonders why he is telling him only now, but whatever. Which direction did they even go? Nomang says that they went to something called a school. Inside that school, a lady and a few students are trying to find a way out, but the hallways are filled with the dead, so the woman, who goes by Li Jiwoo and is an undertaker, tells the others that they should find another way. The boy wonders if they are going to die, but the bratty girl asks if she's not an undertaker. Why is the dead catcher so weak right now? She saw other undertakers before, who had supernatural powers, but she seems to be just a regular person. Jiwoo explains that she has not found a dead person to lend her garments yet, but she promises to protect them. No need to worry. Because of their yapping, a few deceased appear and see them on the stairs. Jiwoo tells the kids to go up while she takes care of a single deceased, who manages to push her back a bit. But as soon as another student opens the door, she manages to kick the deceased away and tell them to go on ahead. She will follow after she is done. Because she's a dumbass, the bratty girl somehow gets captured by a dead person who can barely walk up a set of stairs, who prepares to feast on her flesh. But before he can bite her and rid the world of her stupidity, Jiwoo gets in front of her and is bitten by the deceased, which hurts but allows her to kick him away and asks the girl if she's alright. She throws her hand away and tells her not to touch her, as she almost died because of her. How can she call herself an undertaker? Jiwoo is kind of annoyed, but she's glad that she's safe, and rushes through the door to fully close it and lock it. The deceased knocks and pushes the door constantly, which makes one of the male students say that the dead will probably break through, but Jiwoo just hopes that the manufacturer of the door knew what they were doing and shoots a flare in the air. She tells everyone that her senior will come soon, so all they need to do now is wait. The male student gets angry at her, as she dares to laugh instead of solving the problem. If elites like them die, the whole nation will lose. Jiwoo is quite surprised by these dumbass words, but the girl notes that she's supposed to be an undertaker, but she is not useful in the slightest. She almost died because she's extremely dumb too. She should know that her dad is extremely rich, and he won't like to hear that she got hurt. Suddenly, Yomura appears and notes that for snotty brats, they sure do talk a lot of shit. The bratty girl asks who he is to judge her, and how did he get here anyway? Yomura tries to say that he is the king of the underworld, but every time he tries, thunder strikes, blocking his words. He knows that this is God's doing, but the girl wonders if he's just crazy. The male student slaps Yomura in the chest and asks how he dares to act like that to Seoyul. Does he even know who she is? Yomura explains that he came here because he was chasing the deceased, and sure enough it smells like human blood here. He also heard them from below, so he just jumped here. All of the students laugh in his face, as him chasing the dead just sounds too funny. He looks like a damn beggar, but he thinks that he can fight. What a joke. Nomang asks Yomura if he should just kill him, but he tells him that they are kids. They should leave them alone. It's actually their parents' fault for giving them such crooked education, so when their parents die and end up in hell, they will give them the punishment they rightfully deserve. Naturally, the student gets mad at this obvious provocation and asks how a kid like him can so casually diss people he doesn't even know. Jiwoo tries to get between them and tell them not to fight, but the student tells her to shut up and walk away. This is not her battle. When she insists, he slaps her away, which lets Yomura see that she has been bitten by one of the deceased, and also makes him wonder if she can really hold out until help comes. He also feels that she is familiar from somewhere, but his thoughts are interrupted by the student, who has had enough of his looking away and tells him to listen up, as he is about to tell him how scary they can be. If his dad were to go to hell, the king of the underworld would cry and pray for forgiveness. He would apologize constantly. Seeing that Yomura is the king of the underworld, he starts to laugh, which he really tries to hold, but he really can't, as this is way too funny for him. The student wonders why this bastard is laughing so much. Was he being fucking funny? Whatever. It doesn't matter now. He will beat this bastard up and let his father take care of everything like he usually does. Nomang tries to warn him to stop, but he cannot hear him. So the attack goes through, and the student's fist burns after he is done. God, also known as the Jade Emperor, tries to stop the situation, but Nomang tells him that it's far too late now, as this situation has escalated far beyond anything he can manage. Jiwoo gets in front of Yomura before he could be hit, and tells him to dodge instead of just standing around to be hit. She starts to cough up blood because of the damage she suffered, but still tells him to stay back, as she will protect him no matter what. The student has had enough. Now this bitch is making him out to be like a villain, but if she doesn't know her place, he will show it to her. Whenever Yomura sees a sinner, his eyes open wide, and the instincts of the Underworld King take over him. The student demands that he let go of his hand, as it hurts, and he will kill him if he continues. Yomura notes that killing someone isn't as easy as he thinks, which scares the student, and surprises Jiwoo. He continues to hold his hand until it turns purple. Then he decides to finally let go, which gives the student a confidence boost as he doesn't care. He is going to kill him. He is going to tell his father about everything he did and will throw his body to the dead afterwards. They won't even touch him because of how dirty he is anyway. Yomura is surprised that this little shit hasn't gotten his senses back, as he's still threatening people for no reason. He shouldn't even talk with him at this point, as he is similar to the deceased. They both only respond to violence, something that has been used on sinners since the beginning. He picks up a stick as he says this, and after he's done cleaning it, he notes that he's going to name it. Does anything come to mind when he looks at it? The student doesn't know what he's talking about, but his friend notes that it looks like Harry Potter's wand. Yomura confirms that it sure does, and he immediately slaps the student's ass with it. By now, he should fully understand the situation. For his actions, his sentence is a beating with Harry Potter's wand. Yomura continuously beats him over and over with the stick, which makes the student scream out in pain. Nomang is shocked at his master's actions, as even the others are shocked to see such an act performed right in front of them. Yomura acts like a maniac while doing it too, which doesn't help his case at all. But after he is done, and the student's ass looks like a tomato, he asks if this punishment was enough for him to act better. He better reflect from now on, otherwise he will come and beat him with Perry Hotter once again. Suddenly the bratty girl starts to scream, as the dead are climbing up on the building by stacking on each other. She wonders what they can even do, but Jiwoo gets up and stands in front of her. They should all run downstairs, as she will buy them enough time to run away. The girl refuses, as there are a lot of dead down there, waiting for them. Jiwoo confirms that all of the dead are here, climbing up, so they should get away while they have the chance. With that, they all start finicking with the lock, and Jiwoo tells Yomura to go with them too, as she promises to take care of this. He notes that in his lifetime, he has seen a lot of people, but none were like her. Why is she helping people like those guys, when she could look after herself? She was insulted, ignored, and even hurt. Those fuckers will never know the grace of kindness, yet she risks her life to protect them? Jiwoo Karate chops his head, and notes that for a kid, he sure talks a lot about deep stuff, but he should just stop talking and go down too, as it has become too dangerous for him to stay here. Yomra notes that she is truly unpredictable, but since he is already here, this woman won't have to die a pointless death. As he tries to unleash his technique, the Jade Emperor stops him and tells him not to intervene and look for Teolbo. He asks how he can say that in this situation, the Jade Emperor does not care whether or not she dies. He must not intervene. That's when the students get behind the door and close it, with the one who got beaten saying that he will get eaten alive. He should have never laughed in his presence like that. He will die along with that useless woman. Yomra has had enough and tells Nomong to take care of them, who is extremely happy to oblige. One of the deceased rushes into action and tries to jump on Yomra, but Jiwoo jumps on him first and protects him even after she is being bitten again and again. Now he is just confused. Why does she do all of this? Jiwoo asks him a question in return. Does he need a reason to protect people? Yomra certainly did not expect this answer, and he is quite touched by it. However, the Jade Emperor keeps telling him to go after Teolbo, even though he doesn't know where to look. The deceased are having a field day, and innocent people like this woman are dying, yet he dares to try and stop him? He understands that he is doing all of this to maintain the rules of God, which are mostly good, but because of his negligence, many people are suffering, so he will not stand by while the sinless are tortured. He shall burn away all sin and rescue this woman. With a single blast, he eliminates all of the deceased and tells Jiwoo that he has a job opportunity for her. Naturally, the Jade Emperor tries to stop him, but Yomra refuses to listen to him anymore and tells Jiwoo that her salary will be huge and she will also have free insurance on everything. She can take all the vacation she needs, and when she retires, she can reincarnate as the rich daughter of a powerful man. He's basically inviting her to God's workplace. As Jiwoo's consciousness falls, she says that it would be a great job to have. Yomra is surprised that she still has enough strength and puts her down, asking if she's okay. Jiwoo checks her wound and notices how severe the bleeding is, so it is far too late for her. Maybe they will meet in the next life. Yomra isn't about to let her die after inviting her, so he pulls his hairband and uses Underworld manifestation to drag her into a white and serene world. He notes that she is the first person to come here with her full body intact, but nonetheless, he welcomes her into the first Underworld that he personally made. Jiwoo would like him to repeat himself, as she really doesn't believe that she's in the literal Underworld. But after walking around, it seems that this is not just a mind trick, and her wounds are basically all gone too. Seeing this as an opportunity, she asks to be taken as an employee, but she also asks for Yomra's name, as she doesn't know it yet. Yomra says that he's not anything that great, just the king of the entire Underworld, though she can call him Yomra, though perhaps she's still curious about him now that she knows. Naturally, Jiwoo is quite shocked that she is front of the Underworld King, certainly not a daily occurrence, but she is broken out of it by Yomra, who asks what her name is. She tells him, so Yomra ties his hairband around her arm and says that now, she has become as the gods are. She will never get old and see her grandkids grow up. She won't die besides her loved ones. She will just live, forever and ever. Jiwoo just likes that the band is pretty, and what it is exactly. Yomra would like to answer, but seeing that the sky just turned red out of nowhere, it seems that a certain someone will arrive soon, so he thinks that it's better for them to move now. Yomra explains to Jiwoo that the thing on her hand is a string of fate. If she does not have this attached to her at all times, she will not be able to survive here, like at all. Jiwoo asks if they will get separated if she doesn't have this, and Yomra confirms that in a way they will, as she will probably have her head cut off in an instant. Eventually, she wakes back to the normal world, where a colleague of hers by the name of Minho is desperately trying to wake her. He is very relieved when he sees her up, as she wasn't opening her eyes at all. Minho continues to talk, but Jiwoo's mind is set in another place, as she wonders if what just happened was real or not. She asks how she got here while getting up, and Miho explains that they got her emergency signal, and thanks to her, no casualties were found. Right now, they are taking care of the dead around the area, as she can see. Jiwoo asks about the students she was protecting, and Minho explains that they are fine. They were all hiding in a classroom, but something was strange about them. He doesn't really know how to put it, but some of them had some kind of sticky liquid on their body, like they were licked by something big. She's quite surprised when she hears this, and Minho knows that it sounds really weird. But as he keeps yapping, Jiwoo looks down and thinks of Yomra, as the string of fate is still on her hand, meaning that what she just experienced was not a dream. As she assesses what to do, a person by the name of Park comes around and asks if she's alright. Jiwoo says that she's fine, and thanks her for worrying, but Park tells her to shut it. She wouldn't have been worried about her at all, if it wasn't for that ability of hers. Also, she shouldn't come late to work tomorrow, even with everything that has happened. As usual, Jiwoo puts her head down and understands. Minho comes around and slaps her shoulder, as she shouldn't take what Park says seriously. She really is worried about her. She even came here instantly when she heard that she might be in danger. Jiwoo thinks that it's because of work, but he doubts that it is. With that, Jiwoo is escorted to a cab, and Minho wishes her farewell and a good rest. In the car, Jiwoo thinks about the kids she rescued, being glad that they are safe, but also looks at the string of fate and wonders about what Yomra said, that if she loses this, it's over. As she wonders what it exactly is, Nomang suddenly spawns right next to her and notes that now she is in a contract with the Underworld. This causes her to scream so hard that the car jumps up, and the driver asks if she's alright. Jiwoo excuses her behavior by saying that she saw an insect, but then whispers and asks the strange little ball who he is. Nomang introduces himself as Yomra's advisor, and Jiwoo then asks if other people can see him. Nomang confirms that normal people cannot see him, but when Jiwoo tries to use honorifics on him, he tells her that it's very cringe. They should just speak comfortably at this point. With that out of the way, she asks where Yomra is, and Nomang explains that he is with the students she requested, though if he went there himself, things might have already ended for those bastards. Jiwoo remembers the manic behavior Yomra was letting out when punishing that student, so she tells the driver to change course. She will pay double the fare if he hurries. At an unnecessarily large building, Yomra wonders in just how many seconds he can take this structure down. Well, this means that the sinners can't run away that easily either, so it's not that bad. He sees a man going through the self-opening door, and notes that their behavior is very interesting. As he walks towards the glass, the man tries to warn him that he is walking in a literal wall of glass, but Yomra just pushes so hard that the glass cracks and eventually breaks, allowing him entry into the building. The others are shocked, as no man can do that to the best quality glass in the country. Yomra understands why they would be scared, but he just wants them to hand over the sinners, right now. The others naturally just run away as they see him, but a strange woman isn't that moved by his arrival. Instead, she is quite pleased to see that he has so much energy. Is this man truly the Underworld King? That's when Yomra notices her, and just looks. His look doesn't last for long though, as he instantly teleports to her without anyone even noticing that he is gone and starts staring at the woman with a puzzled look. Now she knows that he's the Underworld King, but why is he staring so much? She asks if there's an issue, and Yomra points at her, asking who she is. The woman laughs, and notes that his attitude hasn't changed one bit, as he still cannot remember people's faces at all. So she will introduce herself as a result. Her name is Baekwoo, and once, she lived in the Underworld too. Suddenly her greeting is interrupted by a familiar voice. That dumbass kid who asks a few men who are quite hesitant if they brought what he wanted. They confirm, but it's not a good idea. Still, the kid doesn't care, and tells them to obey like they are supposed to. Yomra is very glad to have found him so easily, and tries to jump down, but Baekwoo stops him and asks him to listen before he decides to blow up the area. Is it even important to punish him now? Yomra says that it's very important, even though she may not understand. The judges and cops of this world can turn a blind eye to the wrongdoings of people. He knows that most are greedy and corrupt. Perhaps they will even brush off matters as not being important, but he cannot let something like this slide. As the king of the underworld, he must always punish a sinner. Many people have suffered under this brat, so he will make sure that his punishment is in accordance with his actions. Baekwoo is quite shocked by his words and lets him go. Yomra instantly teleports in front of the student, who is shocked to see him alive, as he locked him on a roof full of the dead. But Yomra notes that he told him that this wouldn't do anything. He also notices that he didn't reflect on his actions at all, so once again, he will be beaten up by Perry Hodder. Baekwoo wonders if she really heard correctly, but the student immediately goes on the ground and begs him not to do it. The employees manage to get a hold of the security guards that were for some reason not at the entrance of the building and six them on Yomra. As they are all about to be sent to hell and back, however, Baekwoo just raises her hand and tells them to leave him alone. He is not an enemy. In an instant, the guards back off and Yomra is quite surprised by the amount of power this woman has in this place. She must be a good leader, but who is she? The student, aka the young master, starts to run away after he sees an opportunity, which Yomra is annoyed by, but one of the young master's bodyguards stops him, as that person is Chairman Kong's son. Yomra asks why it matters, so the bodyguard will put it simply for him. That kid's father is the chairman of the Kong Sung Group, the third largest conglomerate in all of Korea. He holds influence in the business world more than anyone else, but Yomra again asks why it matters. Seeing as this bum won't understand, the large bodyguard grabs him and attempts to throw him into a wall, but he can't make Yomra even flinch. He desperately tries to take him down, but even with the amount of force he is putting in, this guy just isn't moving. Yomra asks if he really wants him to look at that kid in a better light, Because he is the son of a high-class man. Is he that fucking stupid? The bodyguard wonders what kind of beast he just angered. Yomra notes that money does not equal power, so he should stop talking crap and go back to his post. Though he thinks like that, he probably thinks that it's fine to commit a crime because he has power. This is quite similar when a sentence is reduced because a person is deemed either physically or mentally weak, but unfortunately for him, this is not that kind of world, though he probably won't understand at all. The bodyguard tells him not to think of going anywhere, as he isn't the only one who can exert such power. He starts ripping his shirt off, and before I have to censor this entire video, he transforms his body into steel by using an ability called the Iron Fist, which allows him to move much faster and hit Yomra with a 1-2 punch. This allows him to go even further and hit Yomra so hard that he is sent flying. The bodyguard, believing that he won, starts flexing his ability to absolutely nobody because of his small ego. But that's when Baekwu says that it's a pity, as besides being an absolute loser, he is a dumbass too. Oh, he should also take a look behind him. That's when Yomra just instantly teleports behind him, and notes that he has just become a sinner. The bodyguard has enough time to turn around and see a punch flying in his direction, which hits him, but Yomra notes that he is harder than he previously thought. The bodyguard asks how he can even stand after what he did to him, but even so, he will not let him stand again. He tries to hit Yomra with everything that he has, but he just easily deflects all of his attacks and wonders why he is wearing a shroud. Humans really are good at doing the craziest things possible. Having had enough of this guy, Yomra kicks him in the face and then spins around to unleash a flying kick onto the bodyguard's ugly mug. He has finally reached a judgment. For his first punishment, he will have to survive this fist, which he doesn't recommend going against, as he just might end up with a broken neck. The bodyguard recognizes that he is outmatched in all categories by this guy, be it strength or speed. Just who is he? One thing he can understand, though, is that this thing is not human. The attack causes the bodyguard's head to go through the ground like an ostrich. Baekwu didn't expect anything less from Yomra, but it feels like something changed, like he is weaker than before. He suddenly calls out her name and asks why humans wear shrouds, as those are clothes of the deceased, not to be worn by mortals. Baekwu tells him to not worry too much. It's just a form of protection for everyone. It's already been 20-something years since the deceased have come to this world, and at first humans really struggled to protect themselves. Yomra asks if they can't fight without wearing the shroud, so Baekwu explains that humans are weaker than the deceased by a lot. When they cross the river Styx, they are bitten by monsters, and they run for hundreds of years to avoid being crushed. Some also farm with weights that no human could ever lift. So the more criminal a deceased was in his past life, and the longer he serves, the superior they will become to humans. However, some of the deceased chose to repent and lend their shrouds to humans. That is how humanity got the power to fight back. Most of them become something called an undertaker and fight any deceased they come across. But like this dumb bodyguard, they may fall into a much greedier direction. Yomra makes a weird face, like he doesn't understand, but that's when Nomang says that the shroud was an inevitable choice. She should get to the point because Yomra is dumb when it comes to explanations. Baekwu is very glad to see him and asks how long it has been since they last saw each other. Nomang notes that it was around 300 years, but Yomra asks why he's acting like they know each other. Has he been going into the human world without permission? Nomang is surprised that he doesn't recognize her, but Baekwu notes that it's been a while. Even with all of this, Yomra still doesn't get who she is and thinks that she's just an average human, but seeing that this dumbass isn't getting it, Baekwu asks who the woman is. Jiwoo introduces herself, and Baekwu is surprised that she's a human and an undertaker at that. What is she doing here anyway? Nomang notes that it's a long story, but for now, she is in similar circumstances with them. Baekwu feels sympathetic for her, but Yomra says that sympathy is not needed for her, as she got hired in God's workplace, but she should reveal who she is, as he might hire her too. With that in mind, Baekwu explains that she is the 12 honorary sign, Axis, and her position was Teolbo's staff. They go to another room, and Baekwu tells Yomra that she doesn't know how hell ended up like that. She suddenly came to this place, like she was teleported here. Yomra asks if she knows where Telbo is, but she does not, which makes him scream out, as he thought that he finally had that bastard. Baekwu apologizes for not being of use, but Yomra says that it's fine, as this is more about Teolbo than anyone else. This makes him wonder, though, about how things came up to be like this. He has yet to confirm if something happened to Teolbo, but all of this confusion makes him think that he might have done everything intentionally, which is hard to think about, as it will be even more cumbersome to deal with. Baekwu notices that he might be lacking some information, so to counteract this, she's been working hard in more than one way, so she is sure that this piece of paper will help him. Yomra notes that she must be quite good at what she does, and asks if she wants a job in God's workplace. She refuses, which he understands, as he wouldn't want to work either. Baekwoo changes the subject and asks about Jiwoo, as she hasn't seen her around here in a while. Yeomra explains that she was just sent on a simple mission, her first actually, so it shouldn't take long. What she is doing right now is chasing the young master through the town with the magic stick and making the people around them wonder what is happening. When Yeomra gave her the task, he handed his magical wand to her, making her ask him to not think about beating that student anymore. But he said that she was the one that almost died because of that fucker, so he is doing him a favor by letting her do it in his stead. She agreed and asked what she needed to do with it, and since Yeomra was being called in by Baekwoo, he hurried with the explanation. Her job is simple. She needs to shout out in this way while swinging the magical wand. She is doing this now, screaming to burn the sinner and other words that make the student run even faster. But this is extremely embarrassing for her. Now she understands why that woman felt pity for her. While not looking because of the embarrassment, she bumps into someone and apologizes profusely. But when the person turns around, it's revealed to be Park, who immediately reprimands her for not resting like she was ordered to. She immediately apologizes for her misbehavior, but that's when Park drags her behind and says that they will work this out after, as now she needs her help. Jiwoo asks what she needs to do, and as a strange figure with a wicked smile walks the street next to them, Park reveals that they must take care of this guy, no matter what. Jiwoo asks if they are to subdue this dead now, but Park refuses, as he will run away if they go after him, because he is a master at escapes and trickery. They are just going to follow him and look for any openings to make a surprise attack. Jiwoo asks why he's going around looking everywhere, and Park explains that he is on patrol, even though she knows how hard that may be to believe. Whenever he goes through an area, a huge dead soon appears to devastate that area. Perhaps this guy is his subordinate, but he definitely has something to do with it. By observing him for a while, Park thinks that maybe his primary objective is to remove all obstacles along the way. The student is unfortunately found by this dead, and Park desperately rushes to reach him. But even if she is faster than most humans, she is too late, and the undead unleashes a mighty blow. However, the brat is unfortunately not a red puddle on the ground, as Jiwoo has successfully grabbed him and landed squarely on some trash. Park congratulates her for being so swift, and rushes in to attack, as she will not miss twice no matter what. He will pay for his sins. She activates her shroud, Scholar's stigma, and with a giant hammer, smashes the dead away. She then commands Jiwoo to evacuate that civilian and request support now, which she agrees to, but she must hang in there no matter what. Park tells her to hurry, as she is not a combat-type stigma, but she is shocked to see that the dead have already recovered from the strike. But she must not be surprised, and move from his attack at all costs. She trades blows with him to slowly get out of his radius, but the dead wasn't even aiming for her, as he wanted her weapon first, and when he gains the upper hand by making her float, he strikes her with his fist, but she also strikes him with the hammer. Even so, it seems that the attack had no effect, so Park thinks that if she doesn't touch the ground soon, she will not be able to strike harder, and will be at this bastard's mercy. Suddenly, the dead activates his own shroud, a ghost bat, and grabs Park, allowing him to smash into walls again and again until he ends up with her in a wall. He thinks that it's over and goes for a final strike, but that's when someone strikes him with her knee, that someone being Jiwoo, who has come to the rescue. Park asks if the support will be swift, and Jiwoo says that she contacted someone. He will be here soon. Park tells her that this guy is not a normal dead, as he is able to use shrouds. They would need at least 2 level 1 Undertaker and several lower ones to take him down, yet she was a fucking dumbass, and dared to call only one person? Jiwoo dodges the dead's attack and defends herself, while saying that they will not die, not in this life at least. Park wonders what this dumbass is even talking about, but she also notices that Jiwoo has gotten much better at fighting. Perhaps that red thing is a shroud of sorts. The dead is damaged, but has had enough of her attacks and backs away before lowering himself, and circles around Jiwoo again and again. Park tells her to watch out, as he is about to use his ability. Sure enough, the dead become invisible, as it has the stealth ability. Jiwoo desperately tries to find out where the invisible dead is, but she soon finds out, as he strikes her from behind, barely allowing her time to block. It seems that the dead is using a hit-and-run ability, as it disappears as soon as it's done, making her look for him once again. She can only predict, and looks behind her as she hears the winds change, but the dead was actually on her side, and successfully hits her. He disappears once again, making Jiwoo extremely confused, as she does not know where to even look anymore. Additionally, the bell that the dead has on his ear is confusing her too, probably on purpose. Can she even win a fight like this one? Suddenly, Park tells her that an attack is coming from 3 o'clock, and sure enough, Jiwoo manages to fully dodge the attack, something the dead doesn't like at all. She asks Park how she knew about his position, so she explains that it's the ability of her shroud, Scholar's Enigma. Anything that she hits at least once cannot escape her ever-watchful gaze. Park says that she will guide her in this battle. All she needs to do is trust her. Jiwoo immediately agrees, and even closes her eyes to show how much she trusts her. Park seems touched at first, but then starts screaming at her, as doing something like that is extremely dumb in a battle. Does she want to just die? Ji-woo immediately apologizes, and Park notes that she watched one too many movies. This is an actual battle they're talking about, so they must be cautious. She immediately tells her the next attack position as it comes, and each time, Ji-woo is able to deal more than a few blows to the dead, who can't do anything but take it again and again. This happens to the point where this seems like a one-sided beating, which a strange person, an apprentice by the name of John Uchi, says so too. He didn't expect the Undertakers of today to be so scary, but since he was the one who sent this guy on patrol, he should start helping, as it would be a real shame if a deceased with a really bright future were to disappear. Additionally, he would like to avoid being scolded by that person. With this, he drops down and asks them to stop their bullying. Ji-woo instantly faces him and asks who he is, but Park tells her to back away, as this is one of the big guys she was talking about earlier. He is apprentice John Uchi. He is kind of confused by her calling him a big guy when he's so skinny, but he is also glad that they know of him. Now, to the important business. Can he take his friend back? As there are only a few deceased who are stealth users, it is quite a rare talent, so he is basically asking them for a favor. As weird as that sounds. As soon as he finishes, he is met with a face full of hammer, and Park notes that they will never deal with the dead, and tells Ji-woo to stand back, as the dead are only able to be this intelligent, and communicate because of one thing. Uchi finishes for her while attacking, which means that certain dead killed a whole lot of people, though he is surprised that she already knew that, but dared to approach him when she's so fucking weak. Ji-woo screams out for Park, and as Uchi throws her to the ground, he is quite surprised that she still has the will to attack after her senior was brutalized in front of her. Truly a brave girl. She should know, though, that he despises people like her. He uses Sin of Jir, Taoist priest, in order to create a large tornado that starts to cut Ji-woo again and again. Uchi starts laughing, and asks how it is. Will she still have the will to attack like this? Why would she care about this old woman anyway? She has an entire life in front of her. She should run away now, as that is how humans are supposed to be. Utterly pathetic, and only thinking of themselves. All of them are animals that never care about other people's lives. That is their true nature. Uchi finishes his attack, knowing full well that this girl will run away because of her injuries. But what he sees next enrages him even further, as instead of running, she chose to protect that other injured woman, even though she could have escaped. He feels compelled to ask why she would protect something that is nothing more than a corpse at this point, but Ji-woo doesn't answer. This makes Uchi mad. Did she lose her mind or something? Why would she do this? In this day and age, nobody is doing those kinds of acts, because their respective lives are the most important thing for them. Selflessness will get her nowhere. Ji-woo would like to tell him two things. The first is that she does not need a reason to save a person, and the second one, right now, he has committed a sin, and a pretty large one at that. As soon as she finishes her sentence, Uchi feels the desperate instinct to not breathe at all. After that, Human told her that he sinned. He can't even look in their direction anymore. It's not like he can't, he just doesn't want to, because he knows that the real danger is right behind him. The reason he stopped breathing at all is because he felt that if he dares to right now, his life will most certainly end. He grips his talisman tightly and prepares for the worst. But Yomra moves on to Ji-woo and asks if she's alright, as she seems pretty injured. Ji-woo says that she's fine, but they must do something about Park, as she's barely breathing at this point, and her shroud is also starting to disappear. With a simple flick of his hand, Yomra envelops the both of them in his realm. He tells Ji-woo that she has nothing to worry about, as he is here. Ji-woo is thankful to have such a kind employer, and Yomra thinks that he must have been really cool there. But his visions of himself are interrupted by Nomang, who comes out screaming that he's a dumbass, scaring him in the process. Yomra notes that he should start a conversation with more pleasant things, instead of talking rudely like he always does. Nomang tells him to forget it, as they have something more important to focus on right now, making Yomra ask if he wants to grind a millstone for 500 years, as that is the punishment for foul-mouthed individuals. But Nomang couldn't give a rat's ass about that. Uchi just stares, as this guy seemed like a big deal at first, but now, it seems like he was worried for nothing after all. He tries to tell Yomra that he will pay for his fooling around, but that's when he is sent flying by him, and Yomra says that he shouldn't breathe, as any oxygen spent on him would be a waste. Uchi has had enough of him and asks if he didn't just forgive him. Why is he attacking all of a sudden now? Yomra asks what he's even talking about. Forgiveness? For him? First off, he was not even his priority, as the most important thing was to take care of his victims. But now, sure, he has enough time to take care of a lowly bastard that has sinned. They both activate their abilities at once, causing a flurry of red and green to fly everywhere. But naturally, Yomra is much more powerful, as his attack pushes through Uchi's shroud easily. He backs away as a result, but Yomra doesn't stop with just one attack as he shoulder charges Uchi, who in an act of complete desperation, activates the 8 gates of foolishness. Yomra just stands as the ability engulfs him, making Uchi thinks that he has him, and he seals him inside of the ability, which starts to cut him again and again. Uchi says that he is like an empty wagon. He makes a lot of noise, but inside there is nothing of worth. He will cut up his flesh and serve it to the other dead. He summons a mighty sword with his ability and smashes it in Yomra, which seems to have hit him. Uchi starts to laugh like a maniac, as nobody has ever gotten out of his ability before, and his shroud has also been completely sealed as a result. It's his complete victory. With one loud "fuck you," Yomra makes his ability vanish entirely. He admits that it's a tricky ability, but what he said doesn't apply to him. This power is not his shroud. It is actual hellfire from the darkest pits of hell. This is a flame that burns all sinners that are touched by it, and since he has committed a lot of sins already, his power will become stronger and stronger. Uchi is in a state of complete shock, but Yomra gives him one piece of advice: not to bite the ground too hard. As the mighty attack is launched straight in his direction, Uchi refuses to give up and activates the 8 gates seal once again, while also throwing another sword in front of the attack. But no matter what he does, it just keeps coming, and his wind cannot do anything with it. This guy is trying to extinguish hellfire with his little wind spells, but even if he does manage to stagnate it a bit and get out of the way, Yomra is right there to punish any action and send him flying with a punch. He also keeps spamming hellfire again and again, which Uchi is pretty tired of, but he doesn't have enough energy to move anymore, so the fire engulfs him completely. Uchi feels like his entire body is about to become a blob on the ground because of the heat. Just who is this bastard in front of him, and how can he let out this much power? Yomra wonders why he isn't burning away, as normally this guy would have turned to ashes already. But Nomang says that they can't do anything else with him, as he passed down his sword and shroud to Teolbo. Nomang suggests that they throw this guy in hell and leave, as hell and the human world have different concepts of time, so the other deceased should be done with the deforestation. Yomra completely forgot he could do that, which Nomang isn't very surprised by, but he also took the humans away to a safe place for now, so he shouldn't worry and go wild. Additionally, he grabbed his magic wand from that woman, which Yomra is very pleased with. He truly is a good subordinate. Nomang notes that he must be reliable, since his boss is a complete airhead, making Yomra ask if he really wants to get replaced. As they talk, Uchi tries to get away and run, as this is his only chance. Since this monster is completely distracted, he must let that person know about this guy, to avoid him at all costs, as he is far too dangerous for any of them. Unfortunately for him, Yomra has spotted his escape attempt, and crouches down to him, wondering where he might be going. Because of the situation, Uchi has to let go of all his pride, and start to beg for his life. What he did was a mistake, and he didn't try to kill those two on purpose. He begs him for mercy, as he didn't kill the Undertakers. He must deserve it, right? He will do anything, be it reflect or repent. He will live a peaceful life from now on. In his mind, he hopes that Yomra gets tricked by his antics, but instead of answering directly, he wants to tell him a nice story from the past. One boring day, a woman who lost her child came down to hell. The king of hell asked why she came here, and she said that it's because her child died. The Underworld King asked who was her baby's killer, and so she said that the king killed him, as he was the one who caused the war and starvation to rise. He was the one who killed her precious baby. Unfortunately for her, the Underworld King already knew everything there was to know. Indeed, it was the king who started the war and starved his own residents, but she was the one who killed her child. She boiled her only son and ate him afterwards. She was the true sinner here. Thus, he found out that no matter what, sinners are the exact same every time. If they are in a bad situation, they lie and lie instead of being truthful. They kill others without an ounce of hesitation but hate the thought of the same thing happening to them. They are extremely annoying. So that is why he created hell, for people like them. Uchi seems defeated when he hears this, but after thinking for a bit, he starts to shake. He is no longer scared, as he is just the king of the underworld. He will not bow to him no matter what. He activates another wind technique, Wind Dragon, to try and harm Yomra. However, he is already bestowing his judgment on him. This sinner holds no shame and bears no sense of duty. Remorse is a feeling he has never felt, so as the king of the underworld, he will cut off his reincarnation completely. As he charges the stick with power, he starts using Soul Bonsai. First form, Awaken. With one swift movement, he cuts Uchi right in half and ends all of his lives at once, completely erasing him from this plane of existence. Nomang watches as Uchi is ripped apart in both mind and body and thinks that it's been a while since he last saw this technique. From that awful hell, on occasion, a deceased who did not repent for his actions would emerge, and as a result, their reincarnation would be completely cut off, with a technique called Soul Bonsai. Because of the amount of power exerted, Yomra's magic stick completely breaks, something that is to be expected, as it was just a normal ass stick he picked up from the ground. Even so, Nomang is shocked that Yomra is still able to exert so much power. Even without his sword and shroud, it is his power that did this, and only that. After finishing his business, Yomra notes that they should go and relax somewhere. As they stayed up all day today, they deserve some rest. Naturally, the place they went to chill is Jiwoo's apartment, who asks if he really came here just to chill. Yomra tells her to sit down and be comfortable, as even if he is her employer, there's nothing to worry about. He relaxes as he takes a sip of his drink, and Jiwoo says that she will do just that, as surely there is nothing inconvenient about it, isn't there? It's her house after all. Why would she be uncomfortable? Yomra acts innocent, and notes that this is precisely the case. He always knew she was a smart one. Naturally, Jiwoo gets that he's messing around, though she can't just spit in his face as that will surely lose her the job. So she suggests that he go to Baekwu, as she must live in a mansion or something. Yomra notes that it's better to sit at a subordinate's house, as going to a stranger's home like that would be shameful. Jiwoo feels that what he said applies to them too, but she relents, and asks if she wants to get him an apartment too. Yomra misinterprets one of her words as a fart and starts laughing like a dumb kid, which she compares him to, but having had enough of him, she explains that she needs privacy. She cannot let him stay here. She will find him a studio nearby. Yomra notes that he doesn't know what that is, but since he has had similar circumstances to her in the past, he will not overlook her choices, and he will leave if she really is uncomfortable. That should save them any bad blood, right? With that, he gets up and tries to leave, but before doing it, he asks if there are any sinners near her that he can bother. Jiwoo knows full well how he deals with these so-called sinners, and tells him not to even think about it. He wonders why she's so hesitant. Sinners must be punished at all times. Jiwoo notes that his methods are really problematic, and so Yomra promises to be gentle, but she doesn't believe a word of his, making him insist that he can be gentle. To prove that he indeed can't, she gives him an example. There is an elderly woman around here with a pretty serious illness. One day, she threw some trash on the side of the road and did not pick it up. What is he going to do with her? Yomra notes that they should put her in a hot tar pot, which makes Jiwoo scream out, and so they get into a heated argument, both of them not really seeing each other's points. It gets to the point where they start acting like a cat and dog, and Nomang just watches as the troubled owner of these two. Seeing that Jiwoo has backed off, he hands her the cup of water he's been drinking, but when she accepts, she notices that the water is blue, very blue. She asks Yomra where he got it, and he thinks that she's trying to pick a fight again, so Nomang answers that in his stead, they actually got it from a well. Jiwoo presumes the worst, and Yomra notes that now that every house has a well, they are truly living good lives. Jiwoo sprints to the bathroom, and sure enough, the blue water came out of the toilet, making her almost faint right there and then. Yomra and Nomang come around, and in a moment of pure hilarity, she starts to explain that the water they got from that place isn't drinkable. As she explains what's going on a toilet, Yomra falls deeper and deeper into despair, to the point where he and Nomang fall to the ground, completely unconscious. After this entire debacle, Yomra is handed some pajamas and starts crying because of what he did, but Jiwoo comes around with some real water and says that since it has come to this, she will have to watch over him, so they should just live together. Yomra is surprised by the change of heart, and she backs away because of it, as she is embarrassed, but in return, she wants her salary to be doubled, if possible. Yomra looks at her, and looks extremely similar to someone he knew, who wished to be born as a human next. Because of this, he gets up and asks if she descended from a god. Jiwoo doesn't really get what he's talking about. What does he mean by descended from a god? Yomra believes it's quite simple, and would like an answer, but Nomang is really tired of his antics, as his dumbassery is starting again. He can barely remember anyone's faces. He has always been so forgetful, so hasn't he thought that he confused Jiwoo for someone else? Yomra denies this, as she can really feel the remnants of a god from her. Nomang gets closer, and tells him to really think about it. The person he must be thinking of is Kangrim, but she was completely different from this mortal woman. Does he even remember what her voice sounded like in the first place? Yomra says that he could never forget, but after a moment of silence, Nomang realizes that he has in fact forgotten. He doesn't blame him for it. That's just how he is. But that woman is named Jiwoo. If they are going to work together in the future, he should at least memorize that name. She is surprised that Nomang actually remembered her name, meaning that he has been paying attention. Even if he's grumpy most of the time, he's pretty kind. Yomra asks him how he doesn't know that she's Kangrim, but Nomang says that it's pretty damn obvious, as Kangrim is 10 times better than this woman, as she had a sense of glamour to her, right? As soon as she heard that, Jiwoo reversed her grip on the bottle and started giving Nomang his rightful punishment. His screaming could be heard even outside. At night, after they had a meal, they both sit in bed, with Yomra sitting on a sheet that he actually really likes, as he has never experienced something like this. Nomang concurs. It's much better than what they had in hell. Yomra says that humans really are doing well these days. He is kind of jealous of their lifestyle. Jiwoo gets up and asks if they really like the human world that much, and they confirm it, as even the food that she made earlier was super delicious. Once again, Nomang agrees, and they both try to remember the name of the soup, and they eventually get to the name of Mr. Kim's soup. Yeomra didn't expect humans to eat this kind of food so casually. Nomang notes that the food was filled with the sorrows and joys of an ordinary person named Mr. Kim. As they both say how good it is, Jiwoo's face molds into a horrified expression, as what she actually served them was kimchi soup, not Mr. Kim's soup. However, she will not stop them from saying it is, as she really is tired. After talking for a while, both Yeomra and Nomang start sharing the same brain cell, and come up with a brilliant idea. They immediately get up and tuck Jiwoo in, as she must be tired from all of her hard work today. She wonders what happened so suddenly, but Yeomra just tells her to relax. It isn't every day when the King of Hell tucks her in, so she should just relax. After they are done putting on her face mask, they both try to sneak out to the kitchen, but Jiwoo notes that she's going to say this just in case. If he's trying to secretly eat meat, she will know that he did. Both Yeomra's and Nomang's faces sulk as she says that, but she is actually surprised that they were really going to do it. They must have no self-control. Jiwoo just stares at the ceiling as she thinks of all that happened today. She met Yeomra. She was transported to hell twice. She caught the dead with the help of Park, and even when she was hurt, her injuries were healed right up when they got transported to the underworld. This makes her ask Yeomra a question. If anyone enters hell for the first time, will they be cured of any injury or illness they have? Nomang notes that human beings get better once they get in, but Yeomra notes that the dead are different. Jiwoo wonders, if she continues to work with him, will she be able to see someone who died? Yeomra gets up and asks why she would want to meet more deceased people, and so she has to explain that she actually wants to meet her parents. She was not able to protect them before, and she is extremely sad about it as a result. Nomang immediately tells her that she cannot, as she's human. Human beings are limited in what they can and can't do, but when he tries to tell her that she should give up, Yeomra hits him in the head so hard that he actually faints instantly. Jiwoo asks why he did that all of a sudden, but he tells her to be quiet, as Nomang has just fallen asleep. They must not wake him, right? Jiwoo notes that he was the one who put him to sleep, and she tries to revive him, but his soul is actually coming out of his body, making her even more afraid. Yeomra thinks about what she said before, that she wouldn't want to lose anyone else, and notes that this is what she meant. Well, since she has a pretty generous personality and kind heart, he has a nice offer for her. If she contributes a lot to finding Taeolbo, he will allow her to meet with her parents. Jiwoo is surprised by his words at first, but asks if he will really let her. Does he promise? Yeomra does so, and she starts noting that now she can never take it back. If he does, he will go to hell. Yeomra notes that he actually comes from there, so nothing much would change, but she doesn't even hear, as she starts to celebrate with Nomang's passing soul. Yeomra is kind of glad that she is so cheerful, meaning he must meet with Taeolbo soon to keep her like this. Somewhere else entirely, a commanding figure demands someone speak again. The person who speaks is Uchi, who bows down and says that his alter ego has completely died. It felt like his entire soul was being torn to shreds. He also got the name of this technique, which interferes with the soul. It's called soul bonsai. Since there is only one person they know of that can use this ability, there is no doubt about it. Yeomra has risen, and is most likely coming for them. The commanding voice was Taeolbo, who stares at Uchi as he hears this. Uchi suggests that he should give him a few deceased, so that he can put that Yeomra bastard to eternal rest, but he doesn't even get to finish his sentence, as he is blasted away for good. Taeolbo notes that he was a truly arrogant fellow, and to disrespect the king of the underworld like that was truly disappointing. He summons a person by the name of Gyeonwoo by his side, and orders him to take the rest of the deceased, as they hurry up with their plan. Before Yeomra regains all of his strength, all of the 12 zodiacs shall attack him, and make sure he doesn't. The swordmaster Gyeonwoo confirms that he will do as ordered. The next day, Jiwoo gets a call from Baekwoo, who apologizes for calling so early, but she was wondering how Yeomra was doing. Jiwoo goes to check, and she sees him barking up a little white dog. This is because white dogs are said to chase away spirits. Baekwoo almost gets her eardrum blown out because of Jiwoo's screaming, and she notes that it seems that he's doing fine. Jiwoo apologizes for her interruption, and asks her to say what she was trying to say. Baekwoo notes that she wanted to tell Yeomra about his new objective, so she shouldn't go to work today and help him out. Additionally, she should do something else for Yeomra, as his sense of fashion is pretty outdated. Because of this, they are now in a mall, and have bought Yeomra some drip. He is surprised that Baekwoo even thought of this, but he can't lie. The clothes are pretty comfortable. Human technology is truly unmatched. Jiwoo wonders if they are going to the right place, as he seems to be heading to a department store. But Yeomra confirms that he is, as it was written right here on this paper. Jiwoo forgot that Baekwoo handed that over, and only now noticed that there's letters on the back too, meaning that she must live quite a frugal life. Yomra notes that to live well, one must save up quite a bit, and since the environment is a precious commodity, they must recycle everything they can. Jiwoo didn't expect this answer from the literal king of hell, but is also curious about what kind of paper this is. Yomra explains that it's just from a normal book, the one that has human deaths written on it. Jiwoo knows what that is, the Sangsabu, a book that records the lives and deaths of people. She immediately gets on his case and asks how they can easily rip a page out of that sacred book, but Yomra notes that she must have had it in her pocket or something. Jiwoo is about to go insane. Just what will people think when they see it? Yomra tells her to calm down, as humans can't read anyway, but from what he read here, they need to find the furball around this main area, and then find a celebrity. Jiwoo is about to whack this bastard, but first pleads with him to explain what he means instead of skipping ahead like a dumbass. Yomra does just that, and tells her that the zodiac signs who came to this realm all had to get jobs to live, and this particular one was scouted. He doesn't know what that means, but Baekwoo said that they are celebrities, and she said that they will appear here because of their schedule. Jiwoo asks who the zodiac sign is, and Yomra reveals that it's Pig. This is that zodiac sign, Baek Dahai, who was just about done with vomiting. She suddenly gets a call from her manager, who asks if she really is that dumb. She explicitly told her not to eat during the shoot. She keeps doing this again and again. Can't she come to her senses? She is on track. She must take care of herself and her image. Dahai explains that she threw everything that she ate in the bathroom anyway. A certain gloom envelops her mind as her manager congratulates her for doing so, but she knows that everything she is doing is for her right. Dahai knows. That's all she can do anyway. With that, the manager closes the call. She can't believe that this dumb bastard did it again. She can't stop herself from eating, almost like a pig. A delivery boy asks if he should leave the clothes they ordered here, and the manager immediately changes her attitude, as she recognizes him as staff from the CH company and tells him to leave them on the table. The boy leaves after doing what he was sent to do, but he observes the manager's attitude and doesn't know what to say. A man who could easily be mistaken for a cannonball asks what Dahai said, but the manager doesn't even want to get started, as she doesn't listen to a word anyone says to her. What if they end up on the streets again because she makes a mistake? He should also tell her something. The cannonball tells her that he won't let their money run dry, while simultaneously losing a bet, which makes him hungry, and he notes that they should go eat. As they go to eat though, Dahai gets in front of them, and the cannonball notes that he is disappointed to hear that she ate again. Dahai apologizes again, but the cannonball says that it's okay, as long as she doesn't do it again, but she should wait here now, as they will be back after their meal. Dahai musters up the courage to ask for some food too. She promises to not eat it now. She will do so after their filming is over. The manager can't believe her gull, but the cannonball turns around and asks if she really is a pig. How many times has he told her that she has to be thin for the pictures? One meal a day is far more than she even deserves, yet they allow it. Dahai explains that she is starting to get dizzy and is almost fainting most of the time, and the other actors all had lunch too. The cannonball tries his best to imitate a monkey and asks if she's saying they are the bad guys here. Dahai completely denies it, but the cannonball grabs her and says that it's heartbreaking to see her like that. Doesn't she remember the first time they met? He saw her on the street standing like a beggar. He gave her clothes, a roof over her head, and food. He let her live like a normal human. Only him. Dahai apologizes, as she didn't mean it like that, but the cannonball notes that everyone makes mistakes. It's normal for a family to bicker like this, right? Dahai's face lights up as she hears that word, and so the others leave while telling her not to do anything funny. But when they are far away, they call her a dumbass, who listens to anything as long as that special word is said. Dahai turns around and jumps around in her awful shoes, being happy to see that someone recognizes her as family. In an instant, the atmosphere around the area changes, and someone tall starts speaking. It is truly a disaster to see a zodiac sign being treated like this by puny humans. However, he will liberate her from this torture. She shall get her stuff, and come with him at once, as Teolbo has summoned her. This is Ivan, the Terrible. Dahai asks about what he just said, but Ivan puts it simply. Teolbo has called for her. She will prepare to leave at once. Dahai is very confused about this. How can Teolbo call for her? They are all deceased too. Why is Teolbo not giving her this message personally? Ivan confirms that he is deceased. He wasn't even trying to hide it, but what about if? Dahai refuses to come along, as she has a family now. She can't abandon them. Ivan is confused. She is talking like those humans are her real family. Dahai hoped that something like that should be obvious. These humans took care of her, while Teolbo abandoned them and went God knows where. They provided her with a place to stay and a life, so it's her right to call them family. Ivan gets annoyed by her tone and has heard before that she is dumb, but this takes the cake. He grabs her arm tightly and asks if what they did was really taking care of her. She should look at her skinny body first. Who has been caring for who now? Huh? She is being taken advantage of because of her stupidity, so she should come to her senses as a zodiac sign. The only family that she will ever have is them. Dahai still doesn't feel like coming, so Ivan takes a different approach with her. If she truly trusts those humans, he will test them only once, and if they act like he thinks they will, he will incur divine punishment on them. After the cannonball and the manager finish eating, they start talking about various things as they walk away. But that's when Jiwoo comes around and asks the cannonball if he's Lee Yuden, the CEO of Schwein Entertainment. I will still call him Cannonball because that's what he is. He confirms that he indeed is. So Jiwoo tries to ask him something, but then Yomra pushes her away and asks him if he's a pig. Jiwoo immediately gets on his case, as that is something very rude to ask someone. But Yomra doesn't get it. He asked the right question. This man has the greasiest face known to man, a gut that could destroy any castle walls, and a bald-ass cut. He is the living symbol of a pig. Jiwoo still tells him that it's wrong, but Cannonball is starting to get mad, as this kid just called him a pig, so he asks him to say it again. The manager tries to stop him, as he was probably complimenting how handsome he is, but even if he sees them trying to kill each other, Cannonball still tries to go to him. The manager pleads with him to restrain himself, as she can't have him go to jail again, so they should calm down, as they ate well and are happy, right? Thank you for watching. See you next time.